So my name is Adam Marsh. I'm the president at Ledge Inc. and the CEO of 80/20 Quality. So my company provides manufacturing and quality consulting to companies all across the country. Somewhere around 300. I have a team of 10. I'm an industrial engineer out of Penn State. I had the pleasure of teaching, I did 3 years, I think, of the manufacturing processes course. I think Grace is teaching that now, so Grace worked for me for a little bit. So I have a really interesting background in manufacturing and understanding how manufacturers are going to actually apply this. We generally focus on quality management systems. So if you see folks ever see a company says they're ISO 9001, they say they have the certification, our company helps them achieve that certification, build those internal systems and processes, and help to kind of achieve that higher level. Well, in doing that, we recognized there's this gap in the market for solving these problems from our clients, right? And our clients are really looking for help with AI, and they see AI as a potential solution to a lot of their problems, but they don't know how to deploy it. So about a year ago, I'm using it a lot within our company. People are asking us about it. I got asked to speak on it at a large show called FabTech. It's like 50, 100,000 people. It's a crazy town. So I got to speak on it on AI. In that, we started getting requests to build more tools. So we've started an entire division of our business all around what we're calling that last mile of AI delivery. So we're looking at how do you actually take these tools that are out there that everybody's promising the world and deliver a real solution for a manufacturer. Feel free to stop and ask questions anytime throughout this. I've got like a background in all of it and can help you kind of guide you through where we're heading. Note, this presentation is generally directed at the manufacturers who are trying to figure out how to get into this. So that's sort of recognize you guys are going to be probably a little further ahead, and I'll wrap it up with that in the direction I think we're going. But when we look at where this is coming from, and I came up in the late 80s and early 90s, we were really focused on just getting computers in our house. That was a big deal if you had a computer at home. And so the adoption curve here was that it took 10 years to get 100,000 people in the country, 100 million people in the country with a PC in their house. Okay. Now, next we're going to look at PCs. Next is the internet. That one took to get to this 100 million users, right? How long did it take? We're going to take about 8 years, right? To get to ChatGPT, they did that in 2 months. You got to think of the user base, what these guys are getting to, and how fast this adoption is, recognizing that this is the first tech that the tools that employees have in their hand is more powerful than what their company is giving them. So they're actually using it without their company knowing about it. And that's a large problem. We call that shadow AI. So why is this urgent? It's happening with or without these companies getting on board. Employees are diving in and using it. And that's really scary because they're putting companies' IP at risk. When you talk to ChatGPT, you're teaching ChatGPT, unless you have all that stuff turned off. And you cannot trust your employees to say, go in and turn that off, right? That's pretty scary. So I really felt this it's probably 9 months ago when I got a customer in Wisconsin. I have never marketed in Wisconsin, no idea how they found us. And that's one of the first questions when a weird kind of one pops up. Pretty cool company, by the way. They do precision ice blasting. So that's sandblasting, but with dry ice. Pretty neat stuff. And so they found us because they asked ChatGPT who to use. And it told them to use us. That is really cool. Also really scary. I've probably spent the past 2 years before I got Secure Tools training ChatGPT all about us. Right? And so luckily I was putting good stuff in. And I wasn't complaining and talking about all our problems. Because if you're doing that, you're teaching it all about your company. So it's really important to think about what is that security, what are we training it? And businesses need to be really cognizant of that. It is a competitive advantage for these companies. Companies that don't embrace it are going to be slow. And the large advantage for small and medium manufacturers in this country is that they are fast. Right? And this can accelerate them. So it's going to be a huge competitive advantage for them. And then they need that. This is a platform for transition. This is not, hey, here's your next version of Excel. What we like to tell people is we're selling you a 3D printer. You have to decide what you want to print. Right? There are models out there. You can go print them. But most of this you're going to have to kind of design in-house. And your team is going to find uses for it throughout the business. They're going to find those business cases. So I like to talk about two tools that really got us started doing this. And our first one was around contract review. And when we talk contract review, I've got a customer that issues me a purchase order. That purchase order could be 3-5 pages long. It's going to have terms and conditions on it. It says, hey, manufacturer, think about you're a job shop. You're making whatever they want you to make. Manufacturer, here's the part. Here's the revision. Here's our print. Here's some terms and conditions. Well, if you're working for a big guy, you're also going to get something called supplier quality manual, their legal terms and conditions that could be miles long. We're talking, and if it's government work, there could be DFARS, which are government requirements that they will flow down to you. So now, as an engineer, as a leader in a company, you get this order, and you have to say, can I make this or can I not make this? Right? And can I meet these requirements? The requirements could be things like, hey, you got to get metal. There's a requirement that says you got to get metal. It can't come from the Congo. Okay, weird. That's a requirement, right? There's all kinds of ITAR requirements. That means if you're not from this country, you can't see these prints. Okay, so that's those are protected prints. So how do we have that control within our business? So you have to look at all these potential things that you might have to fall into. What are the deliverables? They're not just asking for that part. They're asking for a first article report. They're asking for a material certificate that says this is what I ordered. They're asking for all kinds of things that have to be delivered at the end. So how do I go through these potentially hundreds of pages of documents compared to our internal policies and procedures and say, yeah, we do that. Yeah, it matches. All those kind of things. Well, AI is great for that. So what we can do is we've built tools for our clients that has, say, all of their internal documents, all their policies and procedures. So they're going to have a quality manual procedures in. And we say, compare that to their customers' requirements. What are we missing? What do we need to fix? So now we can quickly get companies to look at potential opportunities and rule them out or get them in. We see two types of companies out there. One, we've got companies who spend a long time quoting because they actually look at these contracts. That takes forever, hours, right? Maybe days, depending on how long. And if you have to get legal involved, good luck. Now you're weeks, right? Or we have the clients who just quote everything and hope it comes and hope they can do it at the end. So we can help both of them with this, right? The guys who are too slow, we can speed them up and get them going. The guys who aren't doing it at all, let's just slow them down a little bit. Just take a little bit of risk off and run it through this tool and see if you're meeting. All right, so we see AI as a great alternative to doing that kind of documentation review. Then we started looking at those material certs. So when you buy a piece of metal, you can request a material cert. That says, here's the chemical, physical properties of this material, and yes, it is what you ordered. It's normally to like an ASTM or SAE spec that says, this is what it's supposed to be. Here's the carbon content of this. Well, these manufacturers literally have people who sit there and have to look at that. Can you imagine how accurate you would be after looking at material cert, after material cert, after material cert, finding the specification, looking at every chemical property and physical property and saying it matches or it doesn't match. If it doesn't match, I got to send it back because that's not what my customer ordered. It could have implications that you don't even know about. So we would do work for a submarine company. So these guys are making components for Navy subs, nuclear components. So guess what? This is highly critical. The material has to be exactly what the Navy spec'd in, or they're not going to accept it. So these guys want a second set of eyes on this. Well, those set of eyes are pretty expensive. You know, this isn't a receiving person can't do this. This isn't somebody who's not trained to look at chemical and physical properties and understand that. So you end up spending an engineer's time to review documents. Is that a great use of their time? No, I want them solving problems, not doing this. So this is the kind of tool that we're able to build. And I can very quickly say, does it match or does it not match? Boom, here, get a result. So next, I'm going to kind of walk you through one that I built. Now, this is our platform that we actually sell on. And so you can see the chat up there. And so we're actually giving people a secure location to work that none of these models get trained on. And so that's sort of our ability to use tools. So we're going to walk through one. Now, I built this tool because I am a terrible welder. And my wife, well, my father or I, one of the two, nobody's admitted to it, recently broke my tractor. And I decided this was a great opportunity to practice welding some more. So I convinced my wife it was okay to go buy a new welder and put it in my house and was messing around. And I recognized that my weld looked horrible, but I didn't know how to fix it. Right? I didn't know what I should do. So I snapped a picture and threw it into ChatGPT and said, what did I do wrong? Well, after seeing the results of that, I was like, my customers could use this tool. So we just built it for them. What it does is it takes images, it takes context. I give it what type of welding I did. The more context you give it, just with any AI, the better answer you're going to get at the end. I allow you to upload the weld procedure if you have one. You note here I'm using Claude. I believe Claude, in this instance, was giving me the answer I liked the best. So I can actually scroll through models, and you can see it's giving me a result. Note its answer is I should probably rework my weld immediately and not use it. That was actually pretty accurate. It broke in a week. So, and I've rewelded it 2 times since then. So I'm getting better each time, and that's pretty fun, to mess around with. I like to say it's like I can call my buddy who's a great welder and not get made fun of, right? For asking those questions, right? And at the end, you'll note one of the things I asked for is a confidence score. So right there it said 85%. This is somebody to consider as you do prompts. If you just ask it for an answer, AI gives you an answer, whether it has it right or not. And so it's trying to get you to something. If you ask it for this confidence score, you can say, hey, number one, tell me how confident you are. Tell me what you made up. And tell me what I could give you to get a better answer. If I'm an engineer and I bring my boss something that was a 65% on confidence, that's a problem. So I want to give it as much context as I can do. So use that as part of your prompting to say how accurate are you and what would help. So we're at the point now where those tools are 6 months ago, right? Those are sort of the easy ones. And that is a great entry point for manufacturers, right? These guys are not generally up for huge changes, and they're very suspicious of the software, of any AI tools. So we're saying, hey, let's just do some small things and get you rolling. But now that we're starting to do that, we're on to our next phase, which is actually integrating it into things that are going to take action for these companies. I'm pretty sure that I'm the first person to ever sell AI to Amish people. I recently did that a couple weeks ago. And now, these guys are the most high-tech Amish you've ever met. They have a laser welder. It's pretty impressive. But they are struggling with order entry. Their orders come in all different shapes and sizes, whether that's an email, that's a PDF that comes through, that's literally like a handwritten note from some guy down the road. They come in all shapes and sizes, and they have to enter those into their system. They take 15 minutes per order to enter these, right, to validate it and put it in. So how do we use AI to take all these maybe different incoming data sources and turn it into something that we can enter in? So that's what we're building for them right now. We were able to take it from a 15-minute data entry down to a 1 minute. So you want to talk, when they're doing 700 to 1,000 orders a month, we're saving them significant dollars. These are the systems and processes that manufacturers have not worked on. They have worked really hard, and you'll see in shops, there's a lot of shops that run really efficiently within the shop environment. But the back side of it, they are not efficient at all. The quality side, they are not efficient. And those are the pieces that are slowing manufacturing down that we can really get a lot of value out of when we're running projects. So I've been working on this a lot, and I think it's getting better. Has anybody messed around with sort of the vibe coding world? Anybody? No. So vibe coding is there's tools out there that if I'm not a software developer, but I can explain to a tool what software I would like. And so you can use AI to build software. I have not had great success with it, and I don't think many people are going to have great success with it. But I think there's a place in the market for it. And that to me is, and my most recent experiment was delivering my initial prototype and getting my thoughts out to my developer. We're in the middle of a new tool that we're building for our customers. It's going to be a whole new application that we can sell, subscription-based. We're doing some knowledge capture. My goal is to capture institutional knowledge within a business before it leaves and do it in a really easy way. Well, to do that, I wanted this tool, and I have it kind of built in my mind, but engineers and developers talking is maybe not a great combination. Communication skills between the two of them, not perfect. So I can tell you, I've done this in the past with my original software where I worked with a developer, and that first sort of shot that I got was way off of what I was thinking. They do not think developers don't tend to think in business world, in engineering world, and you're not thinking in developer world. So what we're able to do is use vibe coding to get that first pass down. I can tell you my software didn't work coming out of that, but I could show them the process. I wanted to do X, Y, and Z and get to a point. And so once I was able to do that, we could communicate way better. It also forced me to think through the steps within the software platform so I could kind of understand, oh, wait, and when you do this, you start to see the holes within your thought pattern of, I'm missing this piece, I'm missing an authentication piece or something like that I need to put in to make sure the user could get there. So, but it's some pretty cool opportunity to learn the coding. I can tell you, if you would give that code to a developer, they would laugh at you. And so I don't bank on that code being your end code, but I think it's a really great stepping stone to getting interesting tools. So this is one of the biggest concerns we get is it going to replace jobs or supplement them? I can tell you manufacturers are screaming so bad for people and for smart people right now. I don't see it replacing people. They're just trying to make their people faster, better, smarter. And they have to sell it that way or their people aren't going to use it. So this is it's a weird situation right now where if I tell you that I'm going to take 50% of your job and make it faster, better, smarter, so now you can do it in 1/10 of the time, you're starting to think, well, are they going to keep me around for the other part? That's where I want you, though. I want you spending your time on things that are more valuable to the business. That's where engineers should be living, not in the data entry, not in those kind of times. So we see that as how do we get rid of repetitive tasks, data entry, right? But I see opportunities for AI directors. There are starting to be some AI degrees. I don't know if you guys are doing any of that right now. I can tell you, all of that is made up at this point. Nobody really has a direction on that. We are in like early internet right now. So you guys weren't around for that, but we were all at the point. Do you guys, anybody remember America Online? America Online was like the biggest internet provider ever for us when we were kids. It is gone now, but that's what every grandparent used to get to the internet. Okay, we're kind of there right now where we don't know who the winners and losers are going to be. So you guys have an opportunity to kind of dive in and learn the software and start to help pick those winners and losers. I actually think ChatGPT has a potential to be the America Online of the internet, where it's people's only kind of pathway to AI. That's the only one they use, and maybe that's where they're focused. There are other tools out there. It's good at some things. It's not the best at everything. So companies need to start looking outside of just that ChatGPT realm and look for other tools. There is a problem, and this is going to be across the board, but I like to think of it on the programmer side, and this is going to be a problem for engineers. So as an engineer, when you come in, some of the early things you do are the easy stuff, right? Because we got to train you to be a good engineer first, right? You're coming out of school, you've proven that you know how to figure things out. But you still don't probably quite know how to operate on a shop floor, how to get to the things that we're shooting for. So we're going to give you some of those easy projects. Well, I can do those easy projects with AI now. So sorry guys, I don't need you on that side. I need you on the hard stuff. So my problem is, how do you ever become a senior engineer, a senior programmer, if you haven't spent time doing the easy stuff? In my mind, that comes back to your time here. You guys are going to have to be more ready for the work environment, or you're going to get left in the dust, right? So what are you embracing today to get ready for this? Or you're going to have a problem, because I don't need those. I'm working on a problem right now that I absolutely would have given. At my last job, I was a data analyst and engineer at a company called St. Onge Company over in New York. So 100-person engineering firm. I was doing supply chain planning, looking at where in the country to put distribution centers and plants and where to stock inventory and how to put it in the right bin. I had a customer just give me the problem of, hey, I'm moving warehouses, one to the next. That warehouse has 26,000 items. I need to figure out which bin to put them in to optimize my flow. Right? And that is, I want my people to walk the least. So A items, fast movers are in the front, slow movers in the back, group similar items together that get shipped together often, things like that. When I was at St. Onge, that was a $100,000 project, right? They would pay us to do that, and I would have had a junior engineer working on it because it's actually kind of an easy problem if you have the software to do it. I'm going to do that for, I don't know, $2,500, $5,000 now, because I can have AI make that whole thing. I don't need the software anymore. I have AI. It can do that. So it's a big logic problem. And so it's all about how I can prompt it and get it to get that answer out for me. But the beautiful part about that is I'm going to deploy a tool to him. He can now run that anytime he wants. He could reallocate his inventory monthly if he wanted to get the fast movers in front, right? Just so his people are faster. So those are the opportunities we're seeing, and recognizing that AI is going to take those easy jobs away. So be prepared for some of those. You don't get to sit in the office and have those easy days anymore, where it's like, oh, today's the data entry day, I'm going to go in and do that. That's gone. Every day, you got to be on. As we roll this out to our clients, we are focusing on what we're saying, this crawl, walk, run. And so as we start, we have to start with policy and training and giving them a safe environment. They don't even have that. They just say, we want to use AI. And then they say, all right, is anybody using it? And half their team says, oh yeah, I use it every day. I've been throwing pictures into it. And you're like, no guys, like we can't do that. And so we start with, hey, okay, you got to have policy first. We start with developing an AI policy, saying here's what you can use it for, here's what you can't. I don't care if my team uses ChatGPT to generate images for our marketing stuff. Don't care. I don't care if they use it to help write some emails, fine. But they're not going to use it to analyze my customers' data. They're not going to use it to analyze our accounting data or any of that stuff. So they use our tool to do that. Once we give them the tool, we give them that policy, now they can start to walk. That's those quick wins, right? Those small little things that are a pain in the butt that you just scrub 15 minutes down to 1 minute on, right? All those little tweaks. But in doing so, we're finding data gaps, right? Data gaps are, hey, we don't do a good job of maybe tracking our errors. Talk about the easiest thing in the world you can do. Every part you mess up, you should track, and you should have a good history on. What happened to it? What department was it in? What's the reason code? If I have that data, and I have a year's worth of it, I can start feeding it into AI to start looking for trends. Is it equipment? Is it people? Like, what is my problem that I can start to solve? But if you don't have that data, you're just guessing. So data capture is that next one, is how do we start to put the things, once we see the holes, we say, hey, we really need to solve this problem, starting to put in tools that can do that data capture. And once they have that, now they can start running with it. It's starting to integrate AI throughout their systems. As they build these systems, we're in the middle of rebuilding our systems for probably the 5th time, much to my team's dismay. But that's like, I'm still I got to push and make it better and better. I'm building it with the eye that I want AI to be able to see into our systems and analyze the data. So our current toolkit, I like to go over this every time. Every 2-3 months, this updates, and I start a sort of, hey, here's the new tool that I like. The big ones I'm using today, number one is Gamma. That made this PowerPoint. It is ridiculously good for PowerPoints. And so what you're able to do is actually, I use AI to help me build the outline for a PowerPoint. I take it to Gamma. It makes not only the PowerPoint, but all the images and all that kind of stuff. You want to talk about a waste of time for engineers? Building PowerPoints is a waste of time. So this is a great answer for it. I use something called Fixer. Everybody sees that assistant that comes to like a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting. So that comes with this, which is great. But my real advantage has been on my email side. That thing monitors my email and writes a response for me if I need a response. So the response is in my drafts folder, ready to go. I can see it in, hey, these are ones you need to respond to. These are FYIs. These are ones you don't need to worry about. It actually organizes those for me. It writes in my style. So that's a huge help for me because I go and I say, okay, is it there? Really beautiful part. People ask me for a lot of meetings. It sees my calendar and says, hey guys, here's a slot that you could actually fit in. So it actually proposes times within that email to see if we can get it in. And if the person takes it, boom, I hit a button, appointment made. Done. It's all on my calendar, ready to go. That's a huge time. Think about the waste of time I have in looking at my calendar. I spend easily a half a day a week just trying to organize the calendar with all the other people. Hey, can we get a meeting here? It's horrible waste of time. So we're all trying to find ways around that. And then last, this is the AI tool that I showed you. It's called HATS. That's what we have. That's a secure portal. And the really important thing is, I say multimodal. When we say multimodal, that means I give access to ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Grok, like every one of them, Llama, you name it. Because and by the way, every version of them, ChatGPT 5, ChatGPT 4.5, all of them. Because we're finding there are some that are better than others for different tasks. And so we're actually optimizing our tools with the right model. And when we say optimizing, that's a good answer, but it's also the least amount of power or credit usage that we can do, because we charge our customers based on how many credits they actually use. And so if we can reduce that and speed up the run, we can actually give them better answers and optimize that. So multimodal becomes very critical. So here's an example of sort of something I've been using it for, is I'm trying to be better with my time, right? And so this tool has actually reached into my email and my calendar for the past year, put everything into buckets and told me, here's exactly where you're spending your time, here's where you're wasting your time. Like, it was yelling at me for planning our company Christmas party. I don't know if I have that one up there, but like, I shouldn't be doing that, but nobody else is going to do it. So, so things like that it's catching and helping me say, you know what, you're spending 35% of your time doing business sales and business development. For me, like, that's a lot of time. I could probably hire somebody who could start taking that time over for me, right? Same with internal HR. I don't have an HR person, so I'm the HR guy for our company. Right? And so I'm trying to peel off as much time as I can so I can actually work on, instead of business sales and business development, I can work more on that partnership or the actual delivery, that 25% right there. I want to be more in that delivery phase, especially of AI tools. So the roadblocks, I have been hitting these for the past year. So we got our platform up and running about May of this year, that we actually have a secure thing we can sell. We've kind of put it into a product, and now we've started this whole new division of our company. But there's absolute roadblocks I get with I've never quoted anything as much as I've quoted this. I've done 40 or 50 quotes since we launched this. And for a company our size, that's crazy town, right? Like, and so the cool part is we're able to get in front of guys. This has been my ticket into companies. They all want to hear about it. And so I would suggest this be on every one of your resumes, because they're all looking for, who the heck am I going to hire that's going to help with it? Biggest hurdle I'm seeing is IT security. They are terrified of this, and whether I say it's secure or not, they are my biggest roadblock. So what we're finding is we have to get, and this is a good lesson when you're doing any of these projects, you better get IT security involved early, because they have way more power in the company than anybody realizes. They can put a roadblock up really quickly and say, we can't do this, boss, because XYZ. And the leadership in the company generally doesn't know if that's true or not. And so you're kind of in a weird spot of, I guess we can't do this. Well, if IT is stopping you from using AI, we've got a problem. Most companies we're seeing, all they're using is Copilot, and Copilot is pretty eh. So what we're trying to do is get them access to actual tools that are functional and be that sort of conduit. So we're working around that as much as we can. It's certainly not easy. Fear has been the other one. Hey, I don't know if this is right. They're just that quiet resistance that, like, I'm not even going to log into the tool and check it. We're literally requiring them to log in. When we get a company set up, we're watching to see the usage and if they're actually using it, and we're doing heavy follow-up to say, hey guys, you didn't log in. What's going on? Like, hey, we want you to start trying these. Once you do, you'll realize the value in it, but you got to get them using it. Time constraints is the other biggest one. And this is actually where I think you guys have a giant opportunity, which I'll talk about then, is we're hearing a lot of, I just don't have time to mess with this. And so, sometime I'll get to it. If you're going to do this next quarter, I can tell you, people who are doing it, who just starting now, are already 2 years behind. So if you're 2 years behind now, right, what's it going to be like 6 months from now? You're going to be way in the dark. So the next is that wrong focus. If your focus is, how do I get rid of my people? Good luck. You're never going to get this rolled out. And then this lack of champions and unfocused leadership. Lack of champions is interesting. If we don't pick somebody in the company to kind of lead the charge here, which, by the way, that's where you guys are going to fit in. If we don't pick somebody to lead that charge, to say, okay, guys, we understand, here's what you want. Not everybody's going to be a builder, but they might come to you with ideas. Could we be that builder? That's where you guys can fit in. And then unfocused leadership. I fall into this trap sometimes where I'm like, hey guys, here's 10 AI tools, go use them. My team's like, what? You can't give us 10 at once and think we're going to use it, right? So it's, hey, we got to work on one and get it right and get it out to the team, make sure they're happy with it. So you're working on really focusing and get it down to the right tools. We are finding people say, I want this AI tool. And then we work on it and we realize AI is not the answer for it. That's okay. We found AI is not replacing the things we're really good at. Instead, we need to find the things that we're not good at and replace those things. So I look for the secure and compliant AI. That's that contained model. I want contained model within your own environment. It doesn't come out. I want audit trails. So if anybody knows what that means, audit trails are going to be like, who logged in? Okay, who wrote what? If somebody uploaded something, I need to know what they uploaded just in case it was a problem. So we're looking for that trail so we could get back to a potential leak. And then that policy first. You got to have the governance in place or people are going to work around it. So security is that foundation. So culture change is really what's coming. And how can we help drive that? Number one, management has to set a clear message right up front. We call it almost like an AI manifesto. Here's where we think we're going. Companies are going to have to do this because it's such a change for their business. Next is we need to leave humans in the loop. So in our opinion, humans are the ones who are going to be making that final decision, right? Looking at this and saying, yeah, we're a go, no, we're not. So my answer isn't, I got a weld analysis, isn't, here you go, boss, I didn't look at it, it's great. You can't do that. I'm paying you as an engineer to get that answer. That got you maybe 80% of the way there, and now you bring it home, right, and drive the value in it. We have to have a constructive mindset. So change fatigue is a real thing in a company and something I have to be careful with because I'm always like, here's the new thing, guys. Here's the new. Great example. I haven't changed our email. We are an Office 365, so we should be using Outlook. But I've done so many changes and we've been on Gmail forever. I'm not changing off of Gmail until we get some other projects done because I don't want to throw 10 new things at my team. It's just too much at once. And you still need them working. And if you're always fighting with new systems, that becomes a problem. Then it's getting that network done, getting those small teams of, hey, we're the AI champions. We're going to kind of come around and help you identify potential use cases throughout. Getting your governance, and then last, giving it to your team. We have to train them, and you have to give them actual time to learn. So companies are saying, go learn AI. Well, people aren't going to go home and learn this on their own. Well, some people. I mean, I got to tell you, the future is guys who go learn this on their own, right? We're going to go figure it out. That's how you become an expert in this, by just doing it at this point. You can take classes. We offer classes, and I learn way more by saying, I'm going to try to do it. I'm going to try to break it. And once I break it, I know what its limits are. So that's where we're trying to kind of get to people. And then it's if your employee finds a solution, what do you tell them to do with that extra time? So we have to have answers for them. Here's where I think you guys fit in. You guys have been using AI for the past 3 years, probably, maybe to write some papers, realistically. Okay? I can tell you're in front of most of the crowd on this. And I think you are uniquely positioned. You are like early internet users who have figured this thing out. I just interviewed a girl, and she said, I didn't know that AI was such a big thing for us. I was like, well, how are you using it? She said, well, it does all my scheduling for me, and it already reviews my emails. She's already doing that. So when you think about she's already at that place, that's somebody that I could bring in, and she could start making tools for us. I think this is your value right now. And you have an opportunity to kind of be this new market disruptor where the engineers who are 10 years in front of you are too busy to figure it out. They're too busy stuck in doing the same thing over and over again. They can't get out of that mess. You're going to come in with fresh eyes, see out those opportunities, be able to jump on it. So my call to action. Now, I start with first the current workforce. These are the older folks who are just getting into this. I'm telling them if they're good at Google, they can be good at AI. You guys, on the other hand, this is your chance to be that catalyst. You can bring AI to business, right? You can transform these old systems, and these businesses are on old legacy systems. You can transform them by start looking at them with fresh eyes, being that why do we do it this way, guys? Because AI is a different world. We get to start at step one. We get to say, you know what? Great example. We do internal audits for people. And my team has been looking, how do we make that process faster, better, smarter? And we're struggling with it because we just haven't found the right solution. We stopped a couple weeks ago and said, we're not building the right thing. We need a tool to actually do the internal audit rather than us doing it. And we'll just follow up on the end and review it. So we were building the wrong tools. We were trying to supplement our team when instead we're gonna do some work on the front end and then clean it up on the back end. So those are the systems that you guys are gonna be able to think about and look for those. Why do we do it this way? There's a lot of legacy in manufacturing. It's one of the we've always done it this way fields. So you get to be that question. Ask the dumb question. It's okay, and hopefully you've got a good boss who understands those are where we get real change from. So that's your opportunity there, guys. All right, I'm probably a little early, but I'm happy to answer questions as I certainly can. Yeah, go ahead.
You use AI to make this PowerPoint?
100%, yeah, absolutely. There's been some where I'm like, I didn't even make the presentation. I made none of it. This one I actually did make. Yeah.
What do you think about the environmental concerns of AI?
I mean, that's a great question. They're using it whether you're concerned about the environment or not. So I can tell you, you can be on the side of how do I help with that? How do I limit the usage, right? Or how do I find the right tool so we do it efficiently and with the least amount of power, right? When I see people, good example, I just had a client who was like, man, I'm struggling with this. And I looked at his usage, and they get 100,000 credits a month on ours. And he used 73,000 credits in 1 month. One person in the whole company. It's like, we got a problem, man. And so I started looking, and he's using the heaviest tool to do a really simple task. And he's just doing it over and over and over again. I showed him how we can use a lighter tool, faster tool, and now he's getting that done for like 15,000 credits. So that's where I think we could have an impact, is helping people to optimize it. They're going to use it. So we're looking for those opportunities on how do you make it better, faster, smarter, but also like avoiding when not to use it, right? There's times when it's appropriate, and keeping that in the back of your mind. We're getting some local data centers too, which is pretty interesting. I'm working with one in Harrisburg right now, and seeing sort of what that looks like and what the costs are. It's certainly an impact, yeah.
Are there any large industries that you don't think would be necessarily capable of using AI, or do you think it can be beneficial for like all employees, like you said, to monitor emails, schedule tasks, no matter what industry they're actually in?
I actually think this is like the highest ROI a company can do for like a software set. Maybe 10, 15 grand they could be in and have everybody in the company using AI tools, from sales to shipping, right? Everybody in the company could use it, and it could help them out. When you invest in a robot, it's helping that one process. So it's pretty interesting to see the how far it can spread across the business and any industry. I mean, I've sold it to an accounting firm. I got the Amish, right? I'm working with a nuclear submarine place, which is pretty crazy. And then we're working with an orthodontist right now who wants to use it, one, to track his x-rays. So he's getting an x-ray, and he's actually using AI to help coach him through, make sure he's making the right decision. I love that, because he has his idea, and then he wants to do it look at it on the back end, the work that he did, to say, how'd he do? That's awesome. Like, I think that's a really cool opportunity. But he's also looking at the accounting side. One thing you'll learn about doctors is they've never had a business class, and they all get to go run a business. So he was struggling with like embezzlement. And so we built him an AI tool that he can drop his financials in, and we're just looking for clues for embezzlement, all right? So we're just saying, hey, this looks weird. You should probably dig into it, because he doesn't know what to look for. Yeah.
So applying the same concept from like the dentist, you said he uses it to like inspect, make sure he's doing the right thing. You said you had like limits for your company, like
Yeah.
saying what the employees can use it for, maybe not using it for data analysts for like the clients and for money for your company. So why doesn't it apply like the same aspect there?
Okay, so we'll use our tool, our secure tool, for that kind of stuff, just not regular ChatGPT. Okay. So I set stages. I actually have like, you can use our tool for that, because I have security on it. But your regular ChatGPT, no, we can't put that stuff in it. We just use different tools. Yep. And so it's, we make sure it's secure, and that's the really critical part. Now, there are things that can't go in it. So companies that are ITAR, right? When I have that print, that means nobody can see it, right? Unless you're a citizen and it's inside my building. You can't put that in any AI tool because you don't know where that's going to bounce around the internet. You can't email that thing, so you definitely can't upload it to AI for analysis. Yeah?
If you were a student, how would you be using AI?
Well, that's a good question. Well, loaded question. I would say as an instructor, when I was an instructor, I was recognizing that my students were using it pretty extensively. And guess what? It's just, in my opinion, it's another tool. So I'm not going to tell you not to use a calculator. I'm not going to tell you not to use your GPS to get somewhere. It's a new world, so we need to embrace it. So when I was doing my classwork, I was focusing on real world problems, and I wanted to see how you thought. So number one, my tests were all handwritten because I didn't want you to just get a question out. But I also like the idea of structuring it, so I want to see your line of thinking. I would definitely use it for ideation. I would use it to help you write maybe get ideas, send you in a direction. But I don't think I would use it to write you guys need to spend time writing now, because you're not going to get a lot of that moving forward, and you need to get good at writing now. I would definitely start to use it to proof my math and things like that. It's getting better at math. ChatGPT 5 seems to be okay at it. And so I would start to use it actually to check some of my work. We just used it. We do some heavy analytics for calibration labs. So guys that take instruments and say, am I measuring things correctly or not? And one of the things we have to do is calculate their uncertainty in measurement. That says when they measure something, if they measure it an inch, is it 1.001, 1.002? Where do they fall in that? So that's some heavy statistics that we have to do. And somebody asked me to do this for some equipment that's eddy current checking. And they're checking for voids within steel. And so they're running these eddy currents through, and they can see the size of that void. Well, it's a pretty complicated problem, and I wasn't exactly sure how to go after it, so I asked ChatGPT to help me build that, and it helped me to build it, and I've got a pretty good answer now. And for me, it looks like I'm in the right direction. So it's been a great starting point on that. Yeah?
How do you try to handle the risk of hallucinations or false information being presented as true by the AI model?
Yeah, so a couple ways. One, I'm asking for that confidence interval at the end. Two, we're always doing reviews on it to say, are we right or are we not? Three is we often run multiple models. So I'm going to run Claude and I'm going to run ChatGPT. And if they agree, that's starting to send me in a direction that we're seeing things correct. I also ask it to source a lot. I wrote a tool. If you ever see chemicals in maybe your chemistry lab here, they all come with SDS sheets. That's a safety data sheet. All right. Well, I work for a chemical company that designs those chemicals. So every time that chemist makes a new chemical, he has to write a safety data sheet. That's like 10 pages long and a pain in the butt. So I built him a tool that he puts in the components and what percentage they are, and makes a safety data sheet. Well, in that, I point my tool at the source I want the information to come from. I say, you can only get this info from this source. And by the way, tell me at the end anything that you made up, right? And it actually gives me a pretty good list on things it wasn't sure of, so I can send the chemist to go look at those things. It's been it took them, that was 2.5 hours down to a couple minutes. Yeah.
Why do you think the outputs on the models that you create are better than the ones that ChatGPT gives?
Okay, so we use ChatGPT sometimes. So one, I'm trying to get a repeatable output. So how we write our prompts is to get something that's very repeatable. You'll find your standard ChatGPT 5 sometimes messes things up. I don't like how ChatGPT 5 writes, to be honest with you. 4.5 I thought wrote a little better. When you start to use Claude, you realize, oh man, this is a much better writer. ChatGPT 5 is very technical, so if you're using it for emails and you're like a sales guy, like I'm a part-time sales guy, it doesn't sound right. And so we find we have to use other models and test them, and then we see what the result looks like. Sometimes it's ChatGPT 5. But yeah, and honestly, I just used it, the slotting problem I'm working on, the 26,000 items. ChatGPT 5 with thinking mode on is the only tool that's been able to actually solve that problem. So note, that's a heavy data usage. So I recognize like we're solving those problems, but there's certainly an impact to that. But yeah, 5 with thinking on is really powerful. I will certainly give it that. But I mean, they change every couple weeks. So you almost have you have to have a tool with multiple access because you don't know. We're betting on who the winner is, right? And none of us knew that Google and Microsoft were going to be the winners in all this. A lot of people bet on Yahoo back in the day. So my suggestion is play with a bunch of them so that way you start to kind of learn what works and what doesn't. Gemini has a bigger context window, so that's Google's, right? So its input window is larger. So I tend to use Gemini for data analysis. The input window for ChatGPT 5 is 500 or 500,000, whatever the units are, and Gemini's 1 million. And so I can actually get more data into it for it to analyze and make decisions on than I can ChatGPT 5. All right, so yeah, go ahead.
For like a hospital, would they need to use like localized large language model to keep like people's medical records safe, or would that also be sitting in a data center or something?
That's a very good question. So when you start to get to HIPAA required, okay, the question is what are they using it for? Is it scrubbed to patient information? Like what are they using, if they're using AI to say use that as a knowledge base, right? That might not be of individual patient information. That could just be of every textbook that's out there, and they can go ask ChatGPT, whatever, to find that. So it depends on what they're using it for, right? It doesn't always have to be around that controlled data set. So if there's ways to get to the data without seeing people's names and things like, they may do that. I mean, of course, you'd add some type of agreement to let them do that. But people are trying to do it locally. But if you want real horsepower, it's pretty tough, and it gets really expensive really quickly. Like the chipsets to do this, I mean, you can install Llama locally. There's a ChatGPT version you can install locally, but you can't do the heavy stuff with it, right? You got to get on these NVIDIA chips to be able to do that. All right, so a couple suggestions for you. 1, get really good at AI. 2, in the manufacturing world, everybody right now is looking for, I know we have a couple Emmys up here, is looking for quality people. So as a need right now, that's an avenue you can definitely look down, is quality management, how to check parts. But that's, when you do that, you work within the whole company. Quality works across the entire business, and you end up running the business. I like to say this to industrial engineers. Industrial engineers are kind of designed not to be very specific and very narrow. We're designed to work across the whole company and understand where we can fix things, understand what corrective actions are, right? That's getting to a root cause of a problem and actually fixing it. That's where quality comes in, and AI is just another tool in that toolkit. All right, well, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.